back to the Analog Dungeon. Here's part 2 of Steading of the Hill Giant Chief. Now, this module was written, as I mentioned, at Origin 78. It was run in a D&D tournament. If you're not familiar with a D&D tournament, I'm not going to get into that. But a D&D tournament was kind of like competitive D&D. It was you against the, and it was people who were experienced adventurers. These days, we would consider an experienced adventurer to be a character. In those days, they meant that as a person that's played a lot of D&D, people that know how to work together. That was really what it was. And so they were able to, by playing literally all day long, 12, 13, 15 hours, it was that question. Are you a bad enough dude to save the president? Are you a bad enough dude to kill Chief Nozenra and his wife and all that? Like, how are you going to do this? How are you going to make this happen? And we know what happened in 1978 because there was Dragon Magazine existed.
Yep.
And Dragon Magazine, they did a blow-by-blow account of what was called the Battle for Snur's Hall, of how the most successful teams accomplished the goal. And in this case, as specifically the case that they write about, they don't lose anybody. And once we get finished completely talking about the top portion, I'm going to walk you through how the very first group to ever play this module, because it wasn't even on sale yet, how the very first group to ever play this module succeeded in taking everything that you're going to get from the top level and everything we've talked about and all of the background and everything, succeeded in clearing the whole place out without losing anybody. And I when I found that and read it, it was so fascinating to me. Because we always ask ourselves, like, how was this really run? How did this really play in the 70s? How this was literally blow by blow of what they did. And it's such a treat. I can't wait to give it to you. Because it will be a lot of, I want to know if this is the way you would do it, or if you would have done it differently, or if you thought about that, or did these people who are undoubtedly in their 80s now, if they are still with us, were they more clever than you would have been? Maybe they were. I mean, they didn't lose anybody. So let's get into the upper level of the Steading. And we start with a Wandering Monster table. I wanted to do sort of all of that beforehand because the Wandering Monster table potentially gives you some ways of picking off some of the numbers from the Great Hall if that's the way you want to do it, right? Mm-hmm. So anywhere in the upper level, you can run into between 4 and 12 orcs rushing to get shields for platters. Again, the orcs are kept by the giants and serve as servants. A lot more with them to come, and it's maybe my favorite part of this module. It came completely out of nowhere. It surprised me so much, and I was so delighted. Again, this module kind of changed my tune a little bit on Gary Gygax. I'll be honest, not entirely, but I will definitely. The dude knew what he was doing. He was not. I've occasionally called him, and mea culpa for me, I've occasionally called him the George Lucas of D&D. I don't believe that he knew what he was doing fully 100%. Other people helped, yes, but Gary he knew what he was doing. Like, the man knew. So props all to Double G. Mm-hmm. 2 hill giants from the Great Hall going to sleep off a drink. So that's 2 hill giants that are out. If they run into them, they can take them out, right? Exactly what we're talking about. Hitman, perfect allegory to this. 3 ogres from the Great Hall going to get there's a typo here. Going to get one of the guards. So going to get a guard to do something, right? 4, 1 hill giant from the Great Hall just taking a stroll. Okay. Mm-hmm. The Great Hall is in the center, and then there's a really long corridor in the front of it that's open, but the Great Hall is like 200 feet, right? From beginning to end. And there's like an alleyway at the beginning of it that you could get in and see what's going on, but not necessarily be seen or pull them, right?
It's like a T-shaped kind of. I've seen this
like a hammer shape.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
With the hole leading, the alleyway you're describing is like a handle leading up to the head of the hammer. Okay.
Yeah. And it's like 40 feet wide. Like, it's big. It's a giant complex.
Sure.
So you could encounter 1 to 4 hill giants. going from that area to another room. You could run into one cloud giant heading for the front gate. You could run into two stone giants heading for the front gate. So potentially some people that would be leaving that. Now this may be more of a, because you're kind of in the room with this is danger for the Great Hall and just hanging out too much in that area, which again, subterfuge, you need to be quick, you need to be smart, you need to be stealthy, you need to figure out some way to not be seen as intruders. And how you do that is up to you, whether you're sneaky, whatever you do. Now for the eastern section, there is the giantess coming from the Great Hall to get her cave bear, so you could run into her. One hill giant with 1 to 4 direwolves coming from somewhere else in the upper level, going from basically from the north to the south, so you might run into those guys. The chief and two ogres are on the wandering monster table, going to get some trophies from the chief's quarters, and then to show off in the Great Hall. So this is a crazy, like, we've encountered so many wandering monster tables. This was like a revelation for me, right? This was like, it doesn't have to just be a list of monsters you might run into. Literally telling you exactly where they're coming from, exactly where they're going, and where you might encounter them. But again, this is a lot of work on the DM. You have to remember where you are, remember where you might get a wandering monster, how that might work out.
That's interesting as a toolboxy thing.
Yeah, right.
Because as I'm looking at this, I like that there is like wandering monsters at the beginning, because it helps it feel more alive, but it also is like, here's a couple of inspirational things that you as a DM could use if you need to throw something in. If you need I feel like things have been a little too stale or stayed. This feels pacing right, like the time for a random encounter. And then you could just like, I remember this was on here, and then just slide it in like you planned it all.
Right. Well, I mean, we're doing a Daggerheart game that I'm running on Saturdays, and the you don't need to know a lot about Daggerheart, but the hope and fear mechanic, basically the players can do things and there's a 50-50 chance that it will be done with hope or fear. If you get fear, the DM uses that as currency to make things that are not necessarily good for the players happen. This is Gary Gygax doing that.
Yep.
Letting you do that. He doesn't make it into he's not simplified it to the fact that, to the point where, I have a point I can use to spend over here. That wouldn't have made sense to anybody at that point anyway. But he's set you up to say, yes, if they're going through these rooms, which are mostly empty, and I'm not going to read you all of the empty rooms that you could go into. I'll tell you what they are, but most of these rooms are empty around the Great Hall, but he's giving you all the tools you need to make sure that this whole upper level feels alive. It doesn't feel like a video game, where it doesn't feel like World of Warcraft, right? No shade to World of Warcraft, but like you go into Naxxramas and you encounter some guys in a specific place, and then if you stay in that place and fight those guys and don't inadvertently get too close to some other guys, you'll never see the rest of them. Right. There's not a lot of, and they're just waiting in rooms for you to pull them and kill them. Kind of, pull the monsters, take all their treasure. This is ensuring that you cannot do that, or you shouldn't be doing that, by giving you these tools to go, you know what? My players are getting a little cocky. They feel like they just found this necklace that's worth 6,000 gold because they're giants. They have great shit. Holy crap. They've got great treasure. I'm going to throw a hill giant and some dire wolves just walking through. Why? He's coming from, and there's a reason I picked like the worst example. There is a hill giant and dire wolves thing that happens elsewhere that he could run into. Instead of running into them later in the northern part of the upper level, he's coming out of the Great Hall because he was showing off his badass dire wolves. You run into them. Now what are you going to do, players? Like, he's giving you those same tools that in Daggerheart, which just came out in 2025, that everyone, and that's the thing I've heard everyone talking about how incredible it is. This is a cool mechanic, but like Gary Gygax was doing it in 1978. This ain't new, Matt Mercer. Love you, Matt. I don't mean that in a negative way. This ain't new though. Gary was doing it in 1978. He just didn't give you points for it. But he fucking gave you 2 to 8 young giants from elsewhere in the place heading through 22 to raid the pantry. Literally, some young giants can walk by you or and finds you sitting there arguing with your buddy over who looks better in the giant helm you just found.
Yep.
And run into you and you have to fight them, 2 to 8 of them, which ain't fun.
No. Again, making the place feel alive is an excellent reason to have these things. Using it not to just be I need something to throw at them. Here are literal encounters. Here are literal scenarios you can run into.
Yep. And you can combine those with the descriptions of the room, which is why he describes these rooms in as much detail as he does. Gygax is known for being very almost Tolkien-esque in being very descriptive. What's the meme about Tolkien? He could spend
he'll spend like 5 pages to describe a chair and 10 words on it.
Yeah. Right. And he loved food, and he would always describe the food, right?
Yeah.
So Gary will fill out all these rooms. He'll tell you what's in there and what they're for. All these rooms have uses and reasons for being there. And if you run into a wandering monster there, then you will interact both with them. You're basically taking your chocolate of your room and your peanut butter of your wandering monster, and you're mushing them together. And you get a cool encounter in a cool place, which he didn't have to set up for you, which is super cool. So we're going to start from the very bottom. We are going to start at literally number 1. You're in the entry and cloak room because, of course, giants have a cloak room. And there are 2 areas you can kind of interact with here. There are supposedly guarding the entrance 2 snoring hill giants. There is a nearly empty keg of ale between them, and unless attacked and slain immediately, any molestation will enable one to alert the other guard at B, which is a tower, which we're going to get to. There's a big tower in the front here too. So you have 2 what's classic D&D, the drowsy guard who doesn't expect anything, hanging out, drunk and asleep.
Now here's a good question. Do you take out the guard or not? I think that with giants,
that's a decision to make.
Yeah. I think with the giants, there's an inclination to like, oh, here's a chance they're asleep. Get them. But if you don't immediately get them, then you're in for some real trouble. So
your battle may unless you figure out some way to silence things with the silence spell, maybe.
Sure.
They've got 40 and 34 hit points, and your battle may pull others. So right off the bat, you have your first question: do you kill these guys?
I say no. I say you let sleeping giants lie. I think you. You respect the blue collar workers getting drunk on the job, and you just put a blanket over them and sneak inside.
Exactly. It does point out here again. This last time I'm going to say this. Crunch disguised as fluff. There are pegs with cloaks. There are multiple bags hanging from them. What do we know about bags? We have a whole list of shit that can be in bags, including quite a bit of gold. So if you were thinking,
throw your halfling into the sacks and see what they find.
Exactly. Then there are steps that lead up to this tower. It's a watchtower. Another hill giant is dozing up there. He has a flagon in his hand, which had mead. And it is he has an iron hoop. See, Gary anticipated you questioning whether to kill. So he's raised the stakes on you. An iron hoop and a straight bar hangs on a rope from the rafters above his head, and will alert the place if struck together. So, this guy's sleeping, right?
Right.
The giant wears a belt with a gem set gold buckle. The 6 gems are worth 100 gold pieces each. The gold in the buckle is worth at least 100 gold pieces. But as a piece of jewelry, the item has a value of 1,400 gold pieces.
I like that there's big gold on big giants,
Big giant who, as you mentioned before, he only has 27 hit points, so he's making it a little easy on you, though you don't know that as a player.
Yeah.
Can you kill him? Can you kill him without waking up the guys downstairs?
Right.
Can you kill him before he grabs that iron hoop and straight bar and starts banging it together and alerts the entire fucking place?
Exactly.
Decisions.
Like at some point you have to go loud. At some point you have to start doing stuff.
Sure, but do you do that right now?
Right.
Who knows? It does not say anywhere, and this is another thing that we encountered, and I'll mention we mentioned Chloe earlier from the Forest Oracle and how
Right.
weird and dumb that was. What we so and so will wake up in X2D3 turns, right? Whatever. None of that here. DM decides when the hill giants wake up. These hill giants might be the sleepingest hill giants you've ever seen in your damn life. They may never wake up for anything. Maybe the hill giant, maybe the players tried to do something, hill giant wakes up immediately. Could be someone rolled a dice, could be DM just decides that's what's going to happen. But it's up to the DM to decide. But I love starting this off with this great decision and then another decision with a little bit of a carrot. Do you do it? Do you not do it? Because it's on the giant.
Yeah.
Like, you're not getting it unless you decided that your thief is the man and can steal it off of him. I love it. Such fun decisions. So here's the decision I will have you make. We're gonna save the Great Hall for last of the upper level.
Right.
Do you go to the western half of the dungeon? Do you go, so there are three doors here, right? There's a little tiny door on the far western side of the room, there's a little tiny door on the far eastern side of the room, and there's the big fuck off doors in the middle that say Great Hall, giant, everything happening here, this is where the party's going on. Where are you going, east or west?
I think I go east. I tend to follow my instincts on, if you put your hand on the right hand side of a maze and keep going without, touching, without getting away from the wall, you'll eventually make your way around. So I'm going to go to the right, and I'm just going to go east, and we'll take that door.
Gotcha. Another thing to note, I skipped this earlier, but it is actually important. Opening the doors in this place is not the easiest thing in the world to do.
Oh, because they're giant doors.
That's right. A normal die score, sorry, I don't know what that means. I'm sure it means it's not super hard, but it's also not the easiest thing either. A normal die score is required to open all doors due to their great size and weight. Doors will stay open if left that way. Fireplace is indicated, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it tells you some stuff about the outside. The main lodge is tree trunks 3 feet in diameter and 30 feet tall. So every time you open a door, you have to be able to get it open. And maybe it makes noise, maybe it doesn't make noise, who knows? But you have elected to go east. As you go east, here are some of the places you will find to the east. And you're basically going around the eastern side of the Great Hall and then kind of up and around, right? So you will find the sub-chief's room, scattering of furnishings filled with treasure. On a shelf 9 feet above the floor, silver comb set with 40 gold pieces of gems, 300 gold pieces, copper mirror worth 200, a large gold hairpin with a 500 gold piece pearl, so 800 gold pieces total. Under the furs on the bed is a sleeping giantess who will awaken on a 1 in 4 or if a loud noise occurs in the room. So you got to be careful. There is a chest. It has 1,500 gold pieces and a ton of copper and silver. This is a room filled to the brim with treasure with a sleeping giantess in a bed.
I mean, that makes sense.
Another great decision.
The giantess is someone's wife.
Presumably, yes. It is the wife of the sub chief.
Yeah. Yes. So having a bunch of jewelry and other stuff in here
makes total sense.
Yeah. Definitely the kind of place I might like rob as quietly as I can, but then maybe grab all the gear or grab all the stuff and stash it somewhere unnoticed near the exit.
Yeah. But again, you have to, because there's a chance that this giantess may wake up. Now, a giantess is not a giant. I believe a hill giantess fights as an ogre. So you might decide, sleeping giantess, you might be able to take her out, and then this room is quite literally your oyster, steps away from the Great Hall. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Up next, you're going to run into so you come into like a T hallway at this point. On the left, you find a hallway that opens into a room, but at the end of that hallway is a secret door, which leads directly into the Great Hall. as in the Great Hall where all the giants are, as in you will immediately pull the entire Great Hall, presuming the DM decides to, if you go through this secret door.
Sure.
But that tells you that there's a secret door in the Great Hall you could potentially use when you're in there.
But also, maybe this is like, because if this is where dormitories are and then you're going into the Great Hall, maybe this is like an easy way for people to slip in and out of their rooms.
That's right.
And so potentially you wait for someone to come along and scurry along behind them. You maybe make your way. Maybe you trust the fact that there's so much partying going on that if someone sees the door open and close, you're low enough to the ground they don't see you.
And that's a very good point, because I feel like a good DM for this, and I'm going to say from what I've read, Gary would agree with me. A good DM doesn't want to punish players unless they do something stupid, or unless they're trying to do something that wouldn't logically work. I get the feeling from reading a lot of Gary Gygax posts and interviews that he wanted the game is supposed to be fun. Everyone's supposed to be having a good time. He did not like it when people did not work within the scope of the game. He didn't really tolerate foolishness, but he wasn't there to punish you. He was there to set the adventure up and let you get through it. The adventures are to be gotten through. And so I think you're 100% right. You could very potentially, being tiny little guys, well, not tiny little guys.
No, but you're halfling to them versus,
Right, exactly. You're short folk to the giants.
Ooh, that actually raises a very interesting question. What happens if your entire party are halflings?
Well, first of all, you shouldn't exist, and I'm calling the police. Second, that's a good point. I mean, again, a good DM would work with that and say, your party's a lot of halflings, or I don't know, you've got 9 people in your party. You got 3 halfling rogues that are all siblings that are running around. I mean, a lot of variables with this being giants. So things makes giants really fun, and not just big and powerful, but having some downsides for them being really big as well. There's an area later on in the module, which this doesn't spoil it, but there's a little hidey hole that is potentially used by the giant chief, and it says he has little spy holes so he can look into areas, but it specifically says there are also spy holes about 5 feet off of the ground, but the chief never noticed them because they're too far down. He's not stooping in here. What would the chief Nozenra wouldn't stoop. So up next, that room that you can go into from either way is a dormitory. Here, 12 young giants. It's described, you can hear them. They are rollicking with beefy smacks. Shouts, laughter are easily heard. All of these creatures have weapons and will fight as ogres. Note that noise from here will be regarded as kids, quote unquote, having fun. There is no treasure, but by wearing the young giant's garb with suitable padding, the party could pass as the youngsters, if not seen closer than 20 feet.
Huh. So by young giants, we're not talking about teenage giants. We're talking about like semi-toddlers?
Well, he said with padding, so I don't think that... I believe that's probably up to the DM to decide, but I think you could be talking 10, 11, 12... potentially up to 13, 14. Who's to say that giants grow the same as humans? Maybe giants don't reach their full height until they're 40.
Yeah,
and then so you're probably
it feels a little bit
with...
like the giant Rugrats, and the players are dressing like Tommy and the rest of the Rugrats.
Yeah. I mean, that maybe that's the case. So yeah, you've got your young giants. Nearby are some barracks. You find 2 soundly sleeping giants therein. You can hear them snoring. There are 10 beds. There are 10 chests. No treasure in the room except for a very small pouch, which has 110 platinum pieces.
These are the cousins and the family members or the friends that are visiting, and all the parents are in like the living room and the den, and they're all gathered in like the kids' room.
Exactly.
So they're like jumping around the beds and like throwing things at each other, and there's like the 2 or 3 girls are over one corner and all the other boys are in the other corner. Like this is the family visit and all of the kids are all in the one room together.
Right. They're in the playroom. They're in the one daughter's bedroom, and they're destroying everything. And she doesn't want to go bother her parents. Yeah, that's that whole thing. If you just got off the holidays, like we might have, that is something you may be very, very, very familiar with as of recently. Continuing just right next to the dormitory is the maid's chamber. Inside the maid's chamber, there are 4 giantesses, as well as what is described as the nasty old matron, who's the strongest of the 4. She is inclined to fight and will dominate the others. If you slay the matron, the others will not fight and will even cooperate with the party by describing future rooms to them, which are the chief's sanctums, the chief's bedroom, the chief's wife's bedroom, things like that. And they will tell you how to get in there safely if you give them all of the matron's stuff. The matron's stuff, which I think is hilarious. The matron's stuff is 3 bracelets worth 2,000 to 8,000 gold pieces each, 3,000 gold pieces, and 4 potions, which the maids are not at all interested in. Those potions are extra healing, hill giant control, healing, and poison.
Hang on. Hill giant control potion.
Yep.
Like you give the potion to a hill giant, they drink it, and you get control of them? You drink it, and other hill giants are like, well, clearly this person is in charge.
This is the era where everything you can drink is called a potion. And so, because we've ran into this in other modules too, where you'll get a poison potion, which makes no sense because these days a potion is something that's supposed to be good for you unless it's cursed or whatever.
It's a buff.
This was yes, it's a buff. You're not drinking a potion that does something bad to you unless it's just situationally bad. This is like anything you can drink is a potion. So
this is weird.
Extra, right?
Because it's like so finding some way to slip this into the chieftain's drink.
I mean, you mentioned that earlier, did you not?
I'm just saying.
You mentioned it earlier. And you even got poison here.
That feels like a Chivo to me.
I mean, that feels good. That feels nice. I like that. So a little bit. So right next door is and I want to say it's definitely the largest single bedroom is the Hall of the Chief. Many interesting things in this room. Gary describes all of them. He even describes trophies on the wall. There are heads, dwarven, human, and various animals and monsters, as well as skull skins, some armor, and some arms. There is a large fireplace, and there are 8 shields directly across from it, one of which is a +3 magical shield, but you have to detect magic to reveal it as such. There's a big jar on the mantle. The jar has no value. However, you look inside the jar and there is a skull. However, if you look inside the skull, there's a 2,000 gold piece gem, which Gary points out, one of the kids was playing with it and stuffed it inside the skull, and it has been forgotten. So you can find something that the children have hidden, or the one of the kids, as it is described.
Honestly, I'm liking the whole have the giant kids be either a problem or a flavor to what is going on.
Well, you have a wandering monsters section where the young giants that I described, they are coming from that room and they're going to raid the pantry. So it's literally exactly what you described.
Sure.
They're running and jumping around. It's Home Alone. It's that first scene in Home Alone.
Yeah.
Where all the kids are running around, and it's that exactly. And a holiday movie. That's funny.
Okay.
And
now
they're going to the pantry to steal deviled eggs from.
Yeah. Now I'm picturing Home Alone, except that the tiny soldiers from I think it's almost called like Tiny Soldiers or something like that.
Oh no, Small Soldiers.
Small Soldiers.
Yeah.
I knew there was an adjective of small. Yes, small soldiers attacking the Home Alone beginning of the movie. Like that.
That's
I'm
exactly
now
what this is.
picturing
This is
that.
Small Soldiers meets Home Alone.
That's essentially what I'm picturing here.
That is awesome. That has completely ruined the small door for me.
It's possible that the small soldiers maybe got sent in by the sticky bandits.
Right. So then we have next to the chief's room, the entrance being directly from the chief's room, in a very Lucy and Ricky sort of situation, is the chamber of the chief's wife. She is in the Great Hall, or technically she's in the hall that leads to the Great Hall, that alley that I described. But in the room is her pet cave bear, which again, I point you back to our wandering monsters. See, this is what I love about this, because just going off of even some of the modules that we've gone through that are good, it didn't feel like things were so intricately connected. Now, this would require and I guess primarily because we've dealt with a lot of the basic modules and we haven't really looked at some of the things, and even modules that I love, like Tomb of the Lizard King, that are for higher levels. It's callbacks. You know, when you're watching like a movie review and they're like, they compare things to Star Wars, right? And they're always like, look, set up and payoff. This movie that we're watching, this shitty movie, has no setup or payoff. They set things up and then they don't pay it off, or something happens and it comes from out of nowhere. This is Gary Gygax setting up a setup and a payoff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have the Chamber of the Chief's wife. She's at 11. Her bear is an 11. This teaches you, oh, hey, these giants may have bears with them. And one of your wandering monsters that you can encounter is the giantess, the chief's wife, coming from the Great Hall to get her cave bear. Like, it seems like such a small, stupid thing, but of course we would be able to do that. But think of all the times you've run a dungeon where something as simple as someone just walking in to get their cave bear never happened, where it was more World of Warcrafty and less like an actual story happening around you.
Yeah.
And so it's brilliant to me that is set up for you early and then it pays off. So you could have killed her on her way to and maybe the players don't know that that's what she was doing, but you get to the room and maybe you've got her head on your belt, right? Because the chief's wife, har.
Sure.
Then you run into her cave bear who fucks you up because you've got his mom's head on there's just so many different things you can do with this stuff.
Right. One of the things that, going back to what you're describing, right? There is a acting method, I believe it's called viewpoints, in which you're thinking like thought, motivation, or thought, desire, action, deed, or something like that. It is you're beginning with the very early processes in acting of motivation, and that's what's described here. Is we are considering motivation and using it as an underlying piece for everything. So when things occur, they occur for a reason, and when they occur for a reason, they are more believable, and they create the setting in a way that feels much more, as you described, like an actual story that's rolling out, and we're present within it. And it is more engaging, as opposed to pats and pathing and random, NPCs
right.
as we do in video games.
Right.
It's more humanistic that way. So
yes, it's much more. There's thought behind it. It's not like even playing. And again, I'm not shitting on WoW. I played WoW for many years. I played WoW with Russell. We were in the same guild. Like, don't come at me thinking I hate WoW.
But it is fine. One of the limitations of one format versus the other.
Yeah, when you're in the Scarlet Keep and you're dealing with the Scarlet Crusade, the joke is they sit around in groups waiting to be pulled. But because no Scarlet Crusader is going to be going from the outside to his room to get a book to show his friend, because that just doesn't happen. In D&D, that fucking happens. That guy has a book in his room. You can find the guy. You can find him before he gets there. You can hear him talking about going and getting the book, and you can go find the fucking book. Like, there are lots of ways that you could see the giantess leaving if you go into the little alleyway and you're hiding there. You can see her leaving. You can hear her say, I'm going to go get Mr. Flumpykins, and then follow her to go. Like, there's so many little things that this works. And if you, again, read the whole module and you ingest it and learn it, you can set those things up in a way that you really only see. I find that I only find them in homebrew games now, where you're not going to find that necessarily in a module. Which I just think is super cool.
I would also be super pissed if, with all of that richness, you just burned it down.
Right.
And you got none of it.
Right. I'm telling you, this place is fucking stacked to the rafters with gold. In the chief's wife's chamber, there are chests, but that's only considered as clothing. She wears all of her jewelry, which you pointed out earlier. Yep. Gary had your back. You didn't even know it. Gary thought about it almost 50 years ago. Hold a moment as
our bones crumble to dust
as we die slowly. But hidden in the straw mattress, we're back to hiding shit in mattresses, more of a thing in the 70s than it is now. When your mattress comes to you in a box and you have to wait for it to inflate, is a leather pouch with 29 gems in it. There's one worth 5,000, 3 worth 1,000, 4 worth 500, 8 worth 100. Long story short, a shitload of gems in a pouch that she's hiding in her mattress. Probably so one of the maids doesn't steal. So I actually misspoke before. The chief's bedroom was not 6 where we came from. That was the hall of the chief. So that was his den, right? His bedroom is the next door from his hall. That goes to the chief's chambers. It's what you would expect: rugs, skin, hides on the floor, bed. There's a small table with a ton of cheap wine on it, an old shield. There's a chest with clothing, same sort of thing. Thick chain for his cave bear. So if you go to the wife's chamber, even if you've not encountered any giants yet, you go to the wife's chamber, you see a cave bear. You kill the cave bear. You go to the chief's chamber. You see a big thick chain. Gary has told you that there's a cave bear.
Yeah.
That you're probably going to have to fuck with later.
Yeah.
The chief's chamber has a secret door that leads out into a hallway that is kind of right across from leads into a hallway that leads to a small sort of private dining room. Which also has this is sort of the council meeting room. This small dining room is dwarfed by the Great Hall. It's very much like a meeting area. Think of like a conference room, right? This is where they hold the marketing meetings. Long table, giant marketing. Long table, giant big chairs, some stools, because of course the chief would sit in a chair and everyone else would sit in a lesser chair for his wife, and 6 stools. There is a secret door in this room. The secret door is not really secret. It's just hidden behind a manticore hide that's hung on the wall.
It's concealed.
Yes, it's concealed. A rough skin map of the area showing a bunch of past and planned raids is hanging on the wall. So you're kind of in his war room, right?
Yeah, this is the room that is kind of maybe attached to one of the subquests of find information about what they're planning to do next.
Yes. Or it tells you, oh yeah, they really are. Maybe as a DM, and let's back up to when we're putting this together. Maybe as a DM, you decide to not give the players a lot of information. You just mention, we think there's probably somebody, we think they're working together, we think there may be somebody behind it, find out what you can find out, and you've decided to tell them by all these little things that you've put in the dungeon. This is one of those things. If it's like, oh yeah, you look at it and you know there was a frost giant raid, and this says that the hill giants knew about it, so they're working together. Well, giants don't like to work together. Hill giants and frost giants hate each other. What's going on? You're creating your own Scooby-Doo mystery here, which is an option, which you can do.
Yeah.
So in the secret room really, it contains a couple of little things, but it really is a secret passage to the caves below. Right? It actually goes to a secret area of the dungeon level down there, which we'll get to when we get to the dungeon level. But in there are several scroll tubes that are concealed in the room under a bunch of logs. There's only one tube that has anything in it. and it is sealed, and it is marked with a triangle containing a Y. Inside is a set of instructions on the next raid. It is written in Giantish, and it is signed Eklavandra. Okay, we're going to get into Gary Gygax names in a minute. This is an issue. Eclavdra, Eclavdra, Eclavdra. There are also plans for the Steading, but it does not show the lower level, but you have the steps that lead into the dungeon level below. So first of all, you run into this. You have presumably never seen this symbol before. You do not know who Eclavdra is. What are you thinking?
Triangle containing a Y, Eclavdra. Older editions, or sorry, more recent editions, I'd be like, history check, DM. Help me with my like, where does this fit in history? Who is this a reference to? This sounds like, as you were hinting at earlier, one of the hooks that would lead you into the future G modules, or even the future D modules, the other giant modules, or the other drow modules.
Eclavdra is a powerful, exceptionally beautiful drow priestess of Lolth.
Yeah.
Eclavdra is a thing. She has appeared in multiple different D&D properties as of since. She plays a big role in the D series. And let me see, where did I have her information? Eclavdra, she's a major character in other media. Powerful priestess.
The name
she's
sounded
in Gary's
familiar.
Yes, she's in Gary's Gord the Rogue novels. She's depicted as incredibly beautiful with jet black skin, blah 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 blah. Of course, perfect breasts. Thank you, Gary. She is the leader of House Eelserves, the most powerful priestess of Lolth. Her former consorts include Gary Gygax's name, Decreshan, and the demon lord Gratz.
Oh, yeah.
She helped. So if you've done Slave Lords, which you might have done, Slave Lords, she has a son, Athux, with Stalman Klim. She helped create the Slave Lords. The slave lord Edralve is her former protege. So you may have killed this lady's former protege. You may have run into her.
Yep.
She has an alliance with something called the Elder Elemental Eye, which she gets into some issues with Lolth, which leads you into the Demon Web Pits stuff. Now, I will say this, when we start getting into the stuff with Lolth and Demon Web Pits and stuff, Gary didn't like that stuff.
Yeah.
She first appears, well, I'm going to correct Wikipedia here, because Wikipedia says, created by Gary Gygax, Eclavdra first appeared in Hall of the Fire Giant King, which was released in 1978. No, she didn't. She appeared in this module by name only. She's initially depicted as a high priestess of the Elder Elemental God.
Yeah.
So Eclavdra...
Yeah. Gratz gets around.
Yes.
Consort of Igwilv as well.
Yes.
And I would, Eclavdra and Igwilv, I would not want to see that cat fight happen.
No, thank you. I will
on a completely other plane of existence.
Right. So Gary drops Eclavdra in here. Your players, now, again, we put ourselves into if we're playing this in 1978, which maybe we did. It sold 100,000 copies. We probably did. We may not know who Eclavdra is. We may just be starting off and this is our thing and we're doing it, and like, who is Eclavdra? What is this symbol? He does not tell you in this module any of the stuff that I just told you. But as you see, she does show up in the third module of this. So at the very least, you're putting in a little hook. Somebody writes it down in their little journal. They keep bringing it up later because who is Eclavdra? I don't know who Eclavdra is. And eventually you run into Eclavdra 2 modules later. But again, the fact that this is all together, again, Gary Gygax cinematic universe, right?
Yep.
So yeah, brilliant. That's so technically, this is the first reference of a drow to a drow, though not called a drow and not known to be a drow, unless you know, in a TTRPG module or any adventure published by TSR. Drow do appear in the monster manual, though No, this came out before. This was already out by the time it came out. So you get a reference to Drow in the monster manual. It's very, very short. It has very little. It tells you just stat blocks and a very small description. But the Drow are going to be a major enemy coming up later on in the thing. Just cool to see a little bit of foreshadowing. So again, we're not going to the bottom yet, though you could go into the secret area. We will tackle that after we're finished with the upper level. Getting off of the small dining room is the arms room. This is where you find better trophies, the personal armor of the chief, all that stuff. Four huge fur capes. Nothing really in here except you can find hidden or wrapped in an old rag, which is stuffed under a cloak in the far corner of the room. 5 javelins of lightning. Interesting. There are a couple dozen or other 2 items in place. The only one that's really worth anything is one of the capes. It is made of, get ready to be sad, giant otter fur.
Oh.
So either a giant otter or a bunch of regular sized otters.
Nah, I mean, it's fantasy world. We got giant otters.
Sure, it's giant otters.
Yep.
Worth 2,000 gold pieces. But with that, we have completely done the eastern level of the court. We could either go downstairs, or there are multiple ways to get back into the Great Hall. So your party has gone through all this, has done all the things. Where you at, Russell? Have you, again, I remember there's a way that Gary set up that he set up specifically that he didn't know that anyone ever actually tried.
Yeah.
And would you like to suffer a guess on that, or what are you thinking before we move into the western area of the upper level?
I mean, this feels wrong, but like taking the kids and threatening to kill them if the giants don't leave the area feels like like we're taking your kids and you better fucking not mess with us. Or potentially even just, the goblin children, goblin nursery kind of thing. Giant. Well, no, I'm saying this is the scenario of you're going to kill goblins. Well, what about the goblin children? So
yes,
do you just kill all the kids and then leave? That seems like an easy way to get them to just want to come massacre you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's so many kids running around here. It feels like if you're there to make the giants pay, like threatening their children is one way to go about doing it.
Sure. But again, you're supposed to be dealing a sharp sharp knock or sharp whatever.
A sharp blow.
Now. A sharp blow to them. I would argue that just kill, and there are 12, they're described as young giants. We don't know necessarily that they are children.
No,
they could
I'm
be
picturing
like they could be like 8 feet tall,
10 and 12. Yeah. I'm picturing
or they could even be teenagers.
Yeah.
14, 15, haven't quite hit their growth spurt.
Yep.
They're partying, having a good time. Because again, with suitable padding, you could pass as one of them. So they're at least 6, 7 feet tall.
Yep.
So yeah, the potentially yes, though that not what Gary had in mind. Not that he was looking specifically if people had attempted this and how it worked out. He said that it would work quite well if you actually attempted it.
So I'm at a bit of a loss.
We will continue on. So again, here you could go to the Great Hall, or you could reverse track and you could go the western area, the western way toward the western half of that upper level. And so we're going back to the main area with the sleeping or dead giants there into one and going through the door that is on the left. And immediately there's a little bit of a hall and a door that leads directly into a small room that is the arsenal room. It's full of mundane giant-sized weapons. None of them are of use to the party. There's a door in that room that leads to the weapon room.
Mm-hmm.
Spears, shields, all size for giants. There's also hammers. There's things like that. All the shields against the wall. Behind the 7th shield is to be found a magic +2 warhammer. I have marked here one other hammer is out of sight in a corner. It is seen by close inspection. This weapon has a magic mouth spell placed on it to speak to a dwarf.
Oh.
So the weapon will speak to a dwarf, and it will say, "Here's a kiss for you, runt." And it will say that until it has spoken it, and it will radiate magic very strongly.
That's weird.
A giant that created a magic but otherwise mundane warhammer specifically for when he was killing dwarves.
Yeah, just to insult the dwarves he's killing.
To insult the dwarves he's killing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Does not come up. There are two big doors in this room that lead to that alley that goes to the Great Hall. Back out into the hallway there, the next chamber is the main bed chamber. This is where the cloud giant and the three stone giants who are in the Great Hall, this is where they are staying. There are 6 beds, 4 chairs, giant garments on several pegs. There are bags that are full of mostly worthless stuff, and chests and other bags. One torch. Again, this is Gary dropping little things in here for you to find, just shit that he finds interesting, or that you as a DM would find interesting, that I think is really useful in modules like this, because this is the stuff that once you put the module together, at least I run into this. Once you put the module together, if you're doing something yourself, you're putting your adventure together, you stat everything out, you do the whole thing. By the time you're done at the end of it, you're like, I'm done. I want to put this down. I want to walk away.
Yeah.
And you kind of forget to go back over it and do the little things, right? The little interesting stuff for people to run into. Because part of me, and tell me if you run into this, part of me thinks they'll never find this, or if they find it, the chances of them finding this are slim. So I'm not going to put it in there because I'm not going to spend the work for something that they'll never find, which is bad. That's not a thing you should do. D&D is interesting when it has what in the video editing world we call greebling, which is when you add little bits to it to make it look interesting. Do you feel that, or is that just me?
I don't think it's just you.
Because when I'm working on something, especially if I'm in work and I put a lot of effort into it and I work on it for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
I get it all set out. I get all my stuff in. I have my big encounters. I've got everything set. Maybe I don't have a lot of time. And I do find myself not putting stuff like this into my adventures, because this is a fun thing that you could find.
So there's a creative process in any kind of creative work where you start working on something and you can go until you just don't have anything else to add, and then it can take you a while to come back to it. Sure. Where you get a more sustainable creative process is if you are consistently working at something in shorter in shorter time periods, over a longer period of time, and you're always leaving something in the tank to kind of germinate and grow. It is good to, this is my problem, is I will sit down and I'll be like, I have this idea for a module and I want to dump everything that is in my brain on paper. And then I start getting sidetracked by, I need to research what this medieval X thing is. I need to spend hours on this, right? The non sequiturs. And then all my energy and all my thought has been spent to that. So I don't have the time for the flavor. I don't have the time for the little additional pieces. But then days and days and days later, and I'm like, oh gosh, I could have. You build a more sustainable workflow in any creative pursuit, but particularly in something like designing dungeons, designing campaigns. If you work at it for a little while and then you're like, I'm feeling like I've kind of made good progress after a few hours, stop. You still have things that I could put down. Stop. And then let it just kind of percolate in the background and in the subconscious. One of the best things that you can do to develop that is actually to get bored or have a problem and then don't think about it and go out somewhere and do not engage in any kind of creative work. That's where long periods of thoughtfulness or long periods of go on nature walks, go to museums, do things that are engaging, but not in a way that requires you to think and make decisions and to create, because you're creative processes will still be kind of running in the background, and your subconscious stuff will still be kind of tickling away at it. And then suddenly
Right.
you'll have these brilliant ideas. Um,
Right.
and you
Exactly.
make that happen more frequently if you give yourself a slower pace and
Mhm.
shorter periods, but on a more consistent basis. It's not go to the gym and work for 2 hours. It's go to the gym for 30 minutes a day, every day, as opposed to, one big day all at once and you hurt yourself. So for
Right.
me,
Yeah. It is a lot like exercise.
yes,
That's a good analogy.
it,
Is when you're trying to put stuff like this together, if you want to add these fun little details that you don't think
yes.
you have time for, make sure and give yourself the space and the room where possible to have these ideas or remember these ideas, and then give yourself the chance to insert them later.
Yeah, just sit down and
100%.
like take a pass on one level, then put it away, take a pass on it again. I
Mhm.
When I'm building dungeons, I use and I taught this at a con recently. It's called a 3x3. And I use three big ideas for what I want the dungeon to do. And you kind of have that here. You have the big idea that is the party. There is the Great Hall. You have the big idea that is the dungeon with everything underneath it. And then you have the big
Uh-huh.
idea that is the giants living here. And then
Right.
you build rooms or you build sections of the dungeon around each of those ideas. And with 3x3x3, I'm thinking, okay, what are three rooms that support my first main idea? The Great Hall is obviously one of those to support the party, but what else? Well, there's got to be a kitchen, and then there's got to be a place for the people visiting for the party to stay. And so I build three rooms that are associated with that. And then in each of those rooms, I'm thinking, all right, what are three things about this room? Here's the
Right.
monster, here's a detail, here is a connective piece of tissue that connects it to other stuff that's going on in the dungeon. Right? The kitchen's raiding the kids raiding the kitchen. That's a piece of connective tissue. The monster in the
Mhm.
in this room is the butcher or is the whoever. And so by kind of using that as a method, I can easily kind of start throwing some things out. But then eventually it's like, well, after I get kind of maybe that first room done, I'm going to stop working, and then I'm going to think
Right.
about those other two big ideas and come back to them later. Or I'm just going to rough out all of the big three ideas, and I'm just going to write down what those rooms are, and I'm going to stop. And then over the next time I come back to this, I'll have more ideas to fill in those gaps. So I get inspired when I see the same things that you're describing, these
Mhm.
little pieces,
Yeah,
and you want to
yeah.
hoard them, which is the other side to this as well. It is the reading all these modules, reading all this other stuff, and seeing what other people use, referencing back to them at different times or different moments. It helps
Right.
build that big iceberg of knowledge underneath the surface.
Yeah, the detail here is it says that there are two torches. One is burning, the other one is not burning, because that torch is actually, this seems a little weird, but it is explained, a giant slaying sword. It belongs to the cloud giant, and if it is touched, there is a special illusion on it, which makes it look like a torch that is dispelled. This sword is unique with 14 intelligence, 8 ego, and speaks hill, stone, and frost giant languages in addition to the common tongue. It's neutral good and it detects enemies, so it detects giants. But the sword has no other powers. It is a +2 in general, +4 versus any sort of giant. So that's plus of the damage.
Mhm.
What I like about this is you're getting it in the very first module, going into a bunch of modules where you're going to find it useful, but not game breaking,
Yeah.
right? It detects giants, super useful. Maybe in this area, maybe not in this area. But and then it also does, it speaks giant, which if none of you in the party does speaks giant, it takes care of that, assuming it will help you because it is neutral good. And then it's a plus to any sort of giant, so it can make one of your giant killers a really good giant killer. So
Yeah.
not only is this a fun little thing that you could totally miss, it's conspicuous enough because there are two torches, but one's not lit. It's kind of conspicuous enough that you might mess with it, but you might not. You might
Yeah.
completely miss it. And then later the DM is like, oh, you didn't find the sword that speaks giant? Well, sorry for you.
Or there's a callback. I mean, this is the cloud giant sword, right? The visiting cloud giant sword.
Yeah, it belongs to the visiting cloud giants.
Yeah. So like having that in the room, and if somehow the cloud giant escapes, or
Mhm.
if for some reason they are not killed in this process. And then they make a return in a later module, perhaps. You're in a
Mhm.
room and you see, because I like the idea that, like, oh, this is my secret, I need to protect myself against the people I'm visiting because I can't trust them.
Right. It makes a lot of
It's
sense.
my backup kind of, my backup weapon. And it's
Right. And you
hidden.
would expect them if they're going traveling,
Sure.
Froggy was it Froggy goes a courting. If they go a courting, that they would
Sure.
have these measures that they could put in place.
Yeah. And it's just a great piece of story without hitting
Mhm.
you over the head with story, right? Why does the
Right.
visiting cloud giant carry a giant killing sword? Why do they
I
have it
mean,
in their room, hidden in their room? And that's a lot
right.
to, like, those are great questions to ask for a DM to potentially provide some answers for, or
Mhm.
to see if answers arise naturally during the course of the game.
Right. And I think you can allow the players to do this sort of mental calculus as well, and then go, "Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense." Which is fun for me as a player to see the little things that the DM throws in for me. And it goes to show that it makes the world dynamic, it makes the world real and lived in. And I think is one of the big reasons why people look back on this so fondly, because they remember the first time they found the sword. And people talk about running this multiple times, and maybe they didn't find the sword the first time, and then they found the sword the second time, like, oh damn, was this here the whole time?
Kind of
I can't
like
believe I
in,
missed
yeah,
this in our other role. Like all of these things that we did would have been rendered completely, moot
yeah.
because we didn't speak giantish, but now we can,
Kind of
that
like
sort of thing
the
I think is really fun.
in Ravenloft, there are the big, like, the sword, sun sword, and the icons,
Yes,
but they're
yes.
randomly kind of, some show up and some don't.
Right. And so if you get one, it increases replayability, which I doubt Gary was thinking about, but it is definitely something that happened.
Yeah. Can you imagine if, like, you run this adventure as a DM, and I'm thinking of, like, okay, if I'm playing some video games on super hard mode, then knowing where all the mega powerful, easy to find stuff is kind of the
Mhm.
trick, right? Like, that's
Sure.
partly, okay, now I can equip myself to deal with the stuff. You do this in Legend of Zelda, in, like, not Ocarina, in
Uh-huh.
the harder modes in uh Breath of the Wild, for instance.
Right.
So being like a DM who's read the module and is like, oh, I know where this sword is hidden, and then you get into it, and then you're just like, hey, I want to go check out these torches on the wall. Cool, there's one torch on the wall, it's lit. What do you mean? Where's the other torch on the wall? What other torch on the wall? There's only one torch, it's lit. And you and the DM are staring at each other, and he's like, yeah,
I know
plot.
what you know. You don't know what I know. I know that you know what I know, so I'm not
Exactly.
going to know it. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's one of those things you add, you subtract. Kind of going back to what was said, you change things as you need to. If your players are killing it, you could even go as far as to say if you have a player that speaks giant for whatever reason, and he's really enjoying being able to speak giant and talk. Maybe the sword, either you don't find the sword or the sword doesn't speak giant because
Yeah.
you want them to have their little spotlight
Yeah.
again, where spotlight is a Daggerheart thing. I'm just saying, this stuff's been around for a while. After the magic speaking sword, we continue along this sort of western end of the upper level. There are a few interesting things sort of along this way that I want to sort of look at. Right across, there's a little tea hallway here with a few rooms, a couple of common rooms that you would see that clearly giants or their guests would just kind of hang out in. Not really anything going on there. The one contains a small chest, which is on a stool, and it has some dwarven and elven ears. Just a chest full of ears.
Yeesh.
Yeah, that's here's my real question. How would a giant remove the ear that's like
Oy.
if you
Yeah.
paint miniatures, if you've ever had to paint like the little eyes, imagine like with a little tiny knife Trying to cut
Ugh.
a little tiny elf ear off.
I mean, there's taxidermy, and then
Right.
there's this.
Right. This is like taxidermy in miniature. It's wild. Though I love this. One of the ears, it doesn't say which dwarven or elven it belongs to. One of the ears has an earring in it that contains a gem that's 100 gold pieces.
God, that feels like such a top down. Like, I let's put some more treasure in this room. What about
Yes.
well, what about an earring? Well, that doesn't make. Well, what if it's attached to an ear still? Oh, maybe they have a bunch of ears. It's very. Let's also rethink this.
Like, how many ears would a giant need to do it? Like, orcs, you understand. A necklace of ears, classic bad guy thing. But a giant, I mean, you're talking. It's like
I mean, they could be strung around
of ears. Yeah,
I'm thinking more like they're strung around their wrist, like the pull tabs off of a can.
Oh,
like,
true, true.
The pop tops off of cans. You would pop them off. You would dig them into the side of your finger and flick them and watch them fly off into the distance. Or you would make entire like necklaces or wristbands out of them. This is 90s kid core, right, is what this is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Somewhere there's also a notebook with the S drawn in it, with the 6-line S drawn in it.
My Satisfactory sloopers out there, if you're playing Satisfactory. There's the whoever this is, right? It's that one giant who's just kind of like sitting, and they're quiet, and there's you're at the table with the other giants in the Great Hall, and they're all talking about various, when's the next raid? Oh, I'm getting my raid on. Yeah, you ready for this? Yeah. And then the one guy's like, I'm ready to get some more ears. You guys want to come back to my room and look at the ears I've got so far? And everybody's like, shut your damn trap about your goddamn ears. We don't care. We don't want to hear it. It's weird. Clivus, it's weird.
We're not interested in your ear fetish. Get out of here. Get out of here with your ear fetish.
I got a shiny one last time. Thinking about getting it graded.
Yes, ears as ears as like collectibles. Because I mean, like you said, there was one with an earring in it, and that has to be an uncommon or a rare, right?
The kids are playing with them like their cards back in their room. They're got
trading them.
One kid is like, he fans out his hand and it's just nothing but like the tips of elf ears all sticking up, and the other kid's on the side like, I fold. It's like, oh, come on.
They're trading them. I'll give you. I have an elf ear, but it's got a notch in it. Ooh. Well, I'm pretty sure this is the ear of an elven king. Ah.
Listen, last time you said it was the ear of an elven king. Last time you said it was the ear of an elven king, and that thing decayed in like 2 days. There's no way that this has been around any high arcana. There's no way it's been around the high arcana of the high elves. There's the one very pedantic giant kid that knows everything about ear trading.
Ear trading. Oh my god. Oh Christ.
This is not lore that we want to add in.
No.
Blame Gary for this.
Yes, this is a full on Gary moment. Across from these two common rooms, there is a kitchen. Inside the kitchen, you do have some folks running around, as you might imagine, with there being the great feast going on. There are now this leads into a through line that I really like. Probably one of my favorite through lines for this whole module. There are 29 orc slaves, again, enslaved to be used as servants, about the place, who will run away from any strong-looking party. There are 5 giantess serving maids and 11 young ogre servants who will also run, but they will call for help. So you basically come into the kitchen, and this isn't like when you encountered the matron who forces all of the waitresses to fight. There's no one in the kitchen at the moment to do that. So this is an instance of you walk in, or they notice your presence, and now you have a little bit of a they're going to let everybody know what's going on sort of situation.
I think it brings it back to something we've discussed in prior modules, which is that there's a clear, like, there are combatants and there are non-combatants.
Yes.
And trying to delineate between the two. It's like, picture the scene of these are servants in a sense. These are the cooks. These are the maids that are making and preparing everything. They're the people who are serving the feast. And there's kind of like the littles. There's all these orcs running around, 2 or 3 of them all trying to lift the giant pot at once, right? And then when the giants get out of hand, they can just smash 1 or 2 of them and then replace them with another, like a rat. Like it's not their life is cheap.
They're house elves for their Harry Potter house elves.
They're very much house elves. Yes. Throw the orc a sock, get it the hell out of here. Like the coming in here and seeing them run off, the orcs are probably thinking, "Oh, thank God, we can finally just run off somewhere and hide."
Put a pin into that, because we're going to get much more into that as we move on down the line.
I am alerted and terrified.
You're alerted to so many things. You've got your name written down of Chief Nozenra. You're looking for the secret. I really feel like this is kind of a Russell Choose Your Own Adventure module. But all things will be paid off. Just like Gary, I'm serving them up, but we're paying everything off. So close by there is a kitchen workroom, super long tables stocked with various cheeses, smoked meats, things like that. Right across the way, or inside the storeroom, there is another little kind of pantry that contains the other way of getting into the lower level. So there's that secret way that was right off of the sort of giant conference room, and then there's this way that's sort of in the back of the kitchen workroom. And there is a reason that this that this is here, which will become apparent when we get to the lower level. But very closely attached is some servants' quarters. You're going to run into some more folks here. More giantess maids who are literally called non-combatants, 6 of them. There is also and this is literally in quotation marks in the module, a handsome giant warrior. I don't know why he is handsome. Maybe Gary's indicating he's handsome for a giant, so potentially it's not, like handsome Squidward.
He's pretty fly for a giant guy. Yeah.
You're off the pod. Get out. Get out. Pack your bundle, Jones.
Listen, you're the one that made the handsome Squidward reference.
Well, I mean, that's what I think. It honestly, that handsome Squidward could be a handsome stone giant. Same sort of coloration, the weird sort of thing. Here's the thing about the handsome giant warrior. First of all, you find out he is the dire wolf keeper, and there's a whole bunch of dire wolves coming up. But he was also one of our guys that was walking around, as well as one of our potential wandering monsters.
Yeah.
It says he will immediately do battle in order to show off for his admirers. So I'm thinking like your 1950s beach comedy where you've got the one like muscly guy who's like flexing, and then he's got all the little girlies around him like, "Oh, Ricky, you're so handsome."
This is Biff Tannen for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
This is that too thick in the head, too large in the chest, just absolutely full of himself. Like, no, watch this. I'm gonna squish all these little.
Take care of these little fuckers.
That's interesting. If maybe do the giantesses in the previous rooms run because the adventurers coming in are like rats, and they're like, "Eek, rats!" And he's like, "Look, I'll stomp these rats," as opposed to just like, "Oh dear God, an existential threat to our very lives."
Well, I think it's also because we're dealing with hill giants. Hill giants are 12 to 15 feet tall. So we said a little earlier that medium-sized characters would almost be like halflings. So it's really a group of, now again, if we go back to our cursed halfling only party, they're probably like giant New York subway style rats. And that's definitely the case where they're running around like the moms in old Looney Tunes or Merry Melodies cartoons, going eek and jumping on chairs and grabbing brooms. But that's only the cursed halfling party, which again, if you do that, I don't know. You've lost the favor of God. I gotta say, you're
I don't
treading in
know.
places you shouldn't be.
I'm leaning into it at this point. I'm feeling pretty good about. Listen, if you send in like the halfling SWAT team, just nine kitted out,
Right.
ready to go.
That's
loaded
true.
for bear halflings. I think that you could absolutely destroy this place.
That may be the way to go, because you're much smaller, much easier to go. And there are, I mean, Gary has set this up where there are tons and tons of opportunity for just slapstick home. I mean, we said this was Home Alone. We said this was kind of like Home Alone, for like Home Alone style comedy, where you could set up traps and stuff and then pull everyone into the trap. Like, I'm saying there are lots of ways of doing this, and yep. Maybe you're right. Maybe your halfling SWAT team would have a really good would have a really good chance of making it happen. It does note that he will not raise a cry for help unless brought to 50% or less of his hit points, and then there's a chance he will yell for help, because they're, thick meatheadedness only goes so far.
The chance to make bad decisions when around the opposite sex goes very high indeed.
Yes. In this room, it points out, because this is the dire wolf keeper, there is a whip hanging beside the door to the east. Though it notes the whip need only be shown to the wolves, spoiler alert, there are some wolves coming up, to make them cower and fall back. Interesting. So if your players are like, I'm going to take this dope ass giant whip, they will find a potential encounter ahead, either rendered mostly moot or much easier. So then we have the orc quarters that we're going to move into. Here's where this really starts to develop. When you go to, all but two of the orcs are working elsewhere. There are two orcs in this place. They are too injured, which is noted, as you pointed out. Giant kicks break bones. These are too injured to labor, but they will happily aid a party who will spare their lives and set them free. These orcs know about the rebellion in the dungeons. First time you're hearing about that, at least as you're reading the module. But again, we've read the module entirely. We know everything that happens, and so we know all about the rebellion going on in the dungeon. And they will tell the party that any orcs they see should be hailed as friends. Otherwise, they only know the kitchen area and the Great Hall. So the thread is Orc Revolution is going on at the same time as we are trying to take care of these giants.
Orcs going on strike for equitable working conditions.
This is a little more than a strike, but that's effectively what we're dealing with here. So again, I will, old school modules, we've said it time and time again, have this reputation for being extremely hard, which this one definitely could potentially be if you're a little thick-headed like the dire wolf keeper, and for being relatively linear, hack and slash, go into the place, kill the thing, take its stuff. There's plenty of opportunity here, and I'm sure everyone sees it. There's plenty of opportunity here for you to interact with these individuals, for there to be role play between the DM and the NPCs and the players. It's not it's not Munchkin, right? It's not kick down the door, go to fight the monster, take its stuff.
Right.
There's a lot more going on here. Now you need to know sort of all these things before you start playing it to make all these little threads work in your favor. But once you know that,
who's potentially not in the rooms, who's potentially wandering the halls, what do you do? Yeah.
Right. So much more about the Orc Revolution or Orc Rebellion as we move into the lower area. So there are only a few more areas here, sort of in this east area. We're actually in sort of the north area of the upper level. We've kind of curved around. There are some ogre quarters. Inside the ogre quarters are 5 ogres playing at knucklebones and drinking small beer, which is a thing that is small beer is a thing that is actually making a comeback here in 2026, which is interesting that they were still talking about it, though as a relic of medieval times in the 70s. There are some really fun there's some really fun treasure you can find in the ogre skins where they sleep, if you are a bad enough dude to check them out after you've taken care of these ogres, including a potion of storm giant strength. Very interesting. A bunch of gold. There's a really nice gem around a thong on the strongest ogre's neck. So the biggest, baddest dude has a really sick gem as a necklace. And it also notes just the detail-oriented mind of Gary Gygax. The creatures have 381 copper pieces as stakes in their game of knucklebones. Any noise from this place will not attract any attention whatsoever.
Noise from this place will attract no attention. So that's a hell of a line. It's like,
Well,
get rowdy,
ogres.
kids.
Right. They're ogres. They're not quiet individuals, especially when they're playing knucklebones. One would assume.
Did you hear someone from the other room yell, "Help, this group of half a dozen halflings is stabbing us all to death"? Yeah, they tried that last time. I lost like 742 copper. Can you believe that how unscrupulous those ogres are?
Lying about
was it the guy
invasions,
with
yeah.
was it the guy with that signature necklace? Like the big it's so gaudy. It's worth like 1,000 gold. It's so big. It's so terrible.
It's ridiculous.
The two cattiest giants in the hall.
sitting in the corner of the room.
Yep.
Oh, have you seen the oh yes, they took me for this. Oh well, I'm not gonna be doing that. Yeah, it's funny to think like they're so loud and boisterous that you could literally be killing them, and everyone's like, ogres, what can you do? We only keep them around because they're handy, and they can only two. It only requires 2 of them to lift our giant pot of stew. The largest room in the whole upper level is just called the open compound. Inside there are 14 dire wolves here. It says they will immediately attack any non-giant or non-ogre, but if you have the whip, they will do nothing but cower and make no sound. Otherwise, they do howl and bite. So this is another opportunity for you, if you're playing smart, to be able to basically completely avoid this room entirely without raising the ire of the wolves. Or you could potentially stumble in here and have to fight all these guys and then pull the whole room. And then your raid is over.
Yeah, that's 14 dire wolves. I mean, we've already dealt with 29 orcs,
yes,
a dozen hill giants, like so many people.
These are huge combats and great numbers. And you know that the running theme of that is as Gary said very specifically, this was not designed for you to go in like Rambo and kill everything in every room by room. It really was designed for you to be surreptitious, take people out individually. It rewards stealth, not a full frontal assault, which, that people love. As we've said, this has gone down in history as one of the most beloved modules ever, which goes to show, I would say, that the reputation of old school being the hack and slash sort of, as we have said, is potentially maybe a little overblown. There's a lot to be done here. Moving around, we've got just a few more rooms. The guard room, a bunch of giant shields are in there. Again, these are areas you might run into some more wandering monsters, things like that. A barracks room. That is, you're kind of off into the north west or northeastern corner of the area here. Barracks room, chests, treasure, more things you can look around at, figure out, open, more opportunities for wandering monsters, just really giving you sort of the full breadth of this upper level, which is where the giants, this is where the giants live, right? It's their real compound. The cave underneath serves other purposes, which we will get into. But that's the entirety of the upper level. So at this point, you would either have the decision to take on the giants as they are up here. You might have gone into the lower level at this point to see what's going on down there. So there are lots of different ways this could have been worked. But I want to now talk about the Great Hall and the big fight, right?
Yeah, because we've kind of skirted around the Great Hall.
Yes.
But that's where all the action is. That's where all the people are. There's this
Yes.
big boisterous celebration that we can't help but notice. Everything surrounds it.
Mm-hmm.
So what's involved?
Right. So in the Great Hall, contains trestle tables, benches, stools. There's a big fire pit in the middle. Big, by big, I'm saying 20 feet in either direction, that is absolutely packed to the gills with burning logs. There's a higher table with the chief and his wife, the cloud giant, the sub chief, and the 3 stone giants are seated. This is very much these are our guests. These are honored guests, and we're having this feast in their honor. On the war directly behind the chief is a small ballista, which he uses as a crossbow. There's a 30-foot range. It fires once per round. He can fire it once per round. 2 to 18 damage versus someone man-sized. 4 to 24 versus larger creatures, in case he needs to fight some of his own giants, I guess. It actually fires spears, and he has 6 of them. Tons of barrels and kegs of ale, beer, mead stand here. All of the tables are full of various sorts of meats, cheeses, breads, singing, talking, laughing, shouting, arguing, wrestling, joking, and the like going on. So the place is a veritable din of noise. As I said before, you have Chief Nozenra and his wife, the sub-chief, the cloud giant, the 3 stone giants, 22 hill giants, 8 ogres, presumably the ones that have been busted out of the Knucklebones game happening around, and the cave bear hanging underneath the chief's table. And you better hope you see that guy.
That is a mountain range worth of giants.
Yes.
Like that is a tectonic plates worth of giants.
That is correct. Each giant. So let's talk about treasure before we even get into how we would tackle this. Each giant, 1 to 4 pieces of jewelry worth 200 to 1,200 gold pieces each.
Yeah, we're showing off.
Yeah, this is more treasure than you can ever almost possibly carry. This is Dragon's Hoard level, even where we are now, and we're not done. Ogres wear half that amount, 200 to 800 gold pieces each. Sub-chief has 4 pieces. The chief and his wife also wear 4 pieces, each worth 1,000 to 8,000 gold pieces each. The chief's pet bear has a jewel-studded collar with 6 rubies worth 1,000 gold pieces.
Oh, Bosco.
That's right. So a mountain of treasure on top of an even larger Mount Everest of giant kin flesh and muscle and pure raw destructive power. Russell, how do you and 8 of your tiniest friends take on this just pile of death? That's the end of part 2 of Steading of the Hill Giant Chief. How do you tackle a cocktail party full of giants and live to tell the tale? Find out in part 3. As always, we have a new release for you every other Tuesday. If you hate cliffhangers and you like your podcasts long and all at once, we offer this entire episode from start to finish, uninterrupted, over on our Patreon. Find out more at our home base, analogdungeon.com. If you like this podcast, that's great. Fine. I think that is awesome. I mean, I guess you could leave us a like and a comment and subscribe. It really super helps us out, but only if you want to. Regardless, we'll see you next time.